Hey, welcome back to another episode of Opinionize. Here's a New York Post article. Dianne Feinstein, 90, suceeds power of attorney to daughter, but still serves in Congress. I'm of the opinion that she needs to resign. Let's take a look closer into this article here and see exactly what they're talking about. So it says California Senator Dianne Feinstein has relinquished power of attorney to her daughter, even as she continues to serve in Congress at the age of 90, according to a report. So basically, power of attorney gives somebody else the power to act as your attorney or on your behalf if you're not physically able to, be present, or in maybe the case of Dianne Feinstein, if you're not mentally or physically able to act in such a way. The article continues, the Democratic senator, who is the oldest member of Congress, has faced calls to resign after health complications kept her away from the Capitol for months earlier this year. Since returning to Washington, D.C., she has appeared frail and has had a number of public mental lapses. Let's take a look. I want to jump over real quick before we continue to her Wikipedia page here. Quite a bit of information, but I wanted to jump down to the health section first, just to kind of see what some of these health issues are that she's been having recently. According to her Wikipedia page, under the health section, it says Feinstein had an artificial cardiac pacemaker inserted at George Washington University Hospital in January 2017. And then more recently here in March of 2023, Feinstein was diagnosed with shingles and hospitalized. On May 18, the Times reported that her shingles infection led to complications. Those complications included encephalitis, which caused swelling in her brain, and Ramsay-Hunt syndrome, which caused paralysis on the left side of her face and problems with her balance and eyesight. Health issues relating to the shingles diagnosis necessitated Feinstein's absence from the Senate. So personally, I'm not a medical person by any means. I didn't realize that shingles could cause the need to be hospitalized, but I assume maybe in older patients or maybe even younger patients that could be the case. Let's click into shingles and see more about it. I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of medical language in here, so I'll try to stumble through some of this. But the part that I am curious about, if I scroll down here, I just want to see prognosis. Yeah, here we go. So prognosis, the rash and pain usually subsides within 3 to 5 weeks, but about 1 in 5 people develops a painful condition called postherpetic neuralgia. Again, I'm not a medical person. Sure, I'm saying that wrong, but which is often difficult to manage. In some people, shingles can reactivate, presenting as zoster shine herpetet, something like that, which is pain radiating along the path of the shingle of a single spinal nerve, but without any accompanying rash. This condition may involve complications that affect several levels of the nervous system and can cause many cranial neuropathies and some other medical terms there. Other serious effects that may occur in some cases include partial facial paralysis, which is usually temporary, ear damage, or encephalitis. Although initial infections with VZV during pregnancy causing chickenpox may lead to infection. Okay, not the case here. There is a slightly increased risk of developing cancer. Oh, of course, everything leads to cancer. It seems like if you stub your toe, increased risk of cancer. But anyway, slightly increased risk of developing cancer after a shingles episode. However, the mechanism is unclear, and mortality from cancer did not appear to increase as a direct result of the presence of the virus. Instead, the increased risk may result from an immune suppression that allows the reactivation of the virus. That's interesting, I think. Okay, so we can see here, I'm sure some of these like medical things up here that they were talking about is probably what Dianne Feinstein was dealing with when she was hospitalized. But let's jump back to this New York Post article and continue reading a little further into what they have to say here. Let's see here. So I think we left off. Feinstein handed over power of attorney to her daughter, who's 66 years old, and her name's Katherine Feinstein, in part to help handle legal battles over her late husband, Richard Bloom's estate. In one dispute, Katherine Feinstein's only child is at odds with Bloom's three daughters over the ownership of a luxury beach house owned by Feinstein, according to the paper. In a separate lawsuit, the two families are feuding over Bloom's life insurance, which Feinstein claims she needs to cover her increased medical costs. So here's a photograph of her recently, and we can see that obviously she's got some facial paralysis going on there as a result of one of those complications, I would assume, from the shingles episode that she was dealing with. Before we move on any further here, this is a screenshot from a video above that I'd like to show. And this is in this video, it's a recent appearance where she was having trouble in a hearing, and her aides were basically just telling her to vote in favor of the issue. Let me scroll back to the top here and we can watch this video here of that happening.
Senator Feinstein.
Say aye.
Pardon me?
Aye.
Yeah.
To say
I would like to support a yes vote on this. It provides $823 billion. That's an increase of $26 billion for the Department of Defense. And it funds priorities submitted.
yeah, just say aye.
Okay, just
Great.
aye.
Thank you.
Senator Durbin.
I think that's very interesting. I mean, if she's having her aides tell her how to vote, she's relinquished power of attorney to her daughter. At that point, legally, she has somebody acting on her behalf. I'm not sure how she's still qualified to be a sitting member of Congress. Let's continue on down here with this article where we left off. So it said Feinstein, who has represented California for over 30 years, announced earlier this year that she would not seek re-election in 2024. I think that benefits us all. I think she probably should not have sought re-election earlier than that. But in any case, several longtime colleagues have leaked to the press that her mental acuity has significantly declined. And I think that video we just watched is evidence of that. Last week, the former San Francisco mayor had to be prompted several times by a colleague. Okay, so it was not an aide, it was a colleague, to say aye on that defense appropriation bill, which we just saw in the video above. Moving on here, it says Feinstein was briefly hospitalized in February for complications due to shingles. That's what we read in that Wikipedia article, or her Wikipedia page, as far as her health section. She was released to her San Francisco home, where she has recovered for the next 2 months. Looks like here's a photograph of her daughter, Katherine Feinstein. So that is the contents of this article here. I'm just of the mindset that, she probably should have retired earlier than she is now. I'm curious, do we need to have age limits on elected members of our government? Should there be something in place where, you have to have maybe some sort of cognitive test to pass in order to be an elected official? I think that these are all interesting questions to consider, especially because we have the oldest president currently in office and potentially running for re-election next year. I think that personally, I think that it is a slippery slope to instate some of these rules, but I do think that there is a topic here and discussion here to be had on some of these issues. Just because of something like this, if she's unable to take care of her own legal affairs where she needs to have her daughter as the power of attorney, I think it raises questions about her being in the Senate. So personally, I thought it was good news that she is not seeking re-election in 2024. I think there's others that should fall into the same boat with retirement and not seeking re-election. Be curious to know what your thoughts are. Please leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think. Thanks again for listening. See you next time.